All right, as you see, there's a little worksheet. I just gave it to you, and we're going to go over this. This is going to be review for the quiz on Tuesday. All right, it's gonna be 4.1 to 4.5, but it's basically going to be this kind of stuff. I'm going to give you triangles. I'm going to ask you if they're congruent. Now, one thing this doesn't do on here, it doesn't give you any letters and stuff to write a congruent statement. All right, but I am going to ask you to write a congruent statement. You know what that means? Right. If I call this A, B, C, D, or whatever, you're going to have to tell me what triangles are congruent if they're congruent. Everybody understand that? So that's one thing that this worksheet does not do. This worksheet's not from the book. The book didn't put this out. I just found it online. Right. It's Kuta, I guess is how you say it. I have no idea. But it's really good software. It's unbelievable because they have so many good topics and great worksheets, and I don't have to do any work. I find them, I print them up. All right, so it makes it nice and easy. So again, on the quiz, I'm going to ask you to tell me why the triangles are congruent and what triangles are congruent, and you have to put them in the right order. Remember that? Okay, if I say triangle ABC is congruent to DEF, try that again. If I say triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF, the A and the D have to match up, the B and the E, the C and the F. Everybody got that? Again, this is one thing that this worksheet is not going to do for you. But maybe on a couple of these, we'll throw some letters in there and do that for you. Okay? All right, so let's take a look. You haven't really had a chance to work on it, but we will go over it together, like I said. So let's put that right there. Okay. So it says state if. The question is if, right? So that means it could what? It might not be, right? Okay. So state if the triangles are congruent, and if they are, state how you know. So give me the reason for it, okay? And then maybe on a couple of these, we'll put some A, B, C, D, E, F stuff in there and see which ones are which, okay? So let's take a look at this one right here. Let's make that a little bit bigger so you can see it on the screen a little bit better. Okay, so right there, and let's make this pen not so thick. Right there. Let's see what that looks like. That looks pretty good. All right, let's take a look at this thing right here. Two triangles. Do you see the two triangles? Boom, this one right here. Boom, this one right here. So, question is, are they congruent by the information that's given? Now, they may be congruent. I mean, I could possibly measure this, put it right on top. It might fit on top. But we can only go by the information they give us, though. We can't just look at it and say, yeah, sure looks like they're the same. And if I cut them out, right, if I physically went through and cut them out, I could put one on top of the other. That doesn't mean they're congruent. Okay, we have to go by the information that they give us. So they give us one side of one triangle equaling a side of another triangle. They give us one angle of this triangle equaling another angle of the other triangle. So far we have a side and we have an angle. Do we have anything else on here? Now, they didn't mark it, but there is something else. What is it? Just describe it. I know what you're talking about. No. Go ahead. Yeah, that line going through the middle. See this thing right here? Everybody watch, because this happens quite a few times. This happens quite a few times, and you got to recognize it. Do you see this line right here? It's shared by both of those triangles, isn't it? Everybody see that? So this line right here, I'll tell you what, let's put some letters in here. We'll just make this A, B, C, and D. Is that all right? Okay, so now we can at least refer to the thing. So AC. So AC on this triangle is exactly the same length as AC on this triangle. Do you agree? So here's how we mark it. How do you think we mark this thing? We mark this AB and DC with one tick mark. How are we going to write AC is equal to AC? Put the John on there? What John? What kind of John? Look, I said this is one tick mark on this one and this one. Somebody tell me. So I put one tick mark? One tick mark would mean it was equal to these other two sides. I don't know. It's that. Yes, put two tick marks. Okay, we've done that a bunch. We've done that a lot of times. All right, you got to see that. Shh. You got to see this, okay? So that represents that AC on this triangle is equal to AC on this triangle. All right, now we did that, but does that still mean these triangles are congruent to each other? Not necessarily. That's right. Because look, you have a side, and you have an angle. Do we have a theorem or a postulate with side-side angle?
Yes. No.
Or, again, I'm not going to spell it out for you, but I'll say the words. Okay? Or do we have one that's angle side-side? No, we don't. Okay? And it's not because... All right, we had our laugh yesterday on this, okay? It's really not that funny. It's a little bit of a giggle funny, but that's about it. You guys go way too nuts on this. So look, we don't have a side-side angle. We don't have a angle side-side. Because if you wrote it out, angle side-side, it would say something we're not supposed to say in here, okay? But that's not why, okay, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist because of what we talked about yesterday, and I'm not going to go through that. But so do we have a side-side angle? No, we don't. So can I say that, oh dear, I'm in the middle of doing something. Have a seat. Just walk in and sit. Just walk in and sit. Okay? You don't have to come in and announce yourself. I know, but you did with the slapping of the hands and all that stuff. Oh, gosh. It's like a zoo in here. It's like a zoo. Wouldn't you agree, Liv? It's crazy. Just say one little thing and everybody goes nuts. See, it's part of the problem. You're part of the problem. Making a big deal about it all. I'll just give you the quiz on Monday. I'll give it to you right now. I just have to make some copies. That's all I got to do. It'd be nice. I wish we would. I really do. No. I've got everybody settled down, and then you got to say something. Let's just continue. So, do I have side-side angle? Is that a theorem? Is that a postulate? No. So can I say that these two triangles are congruent? No. So what's your answer for number one? You just say no, they're not congruent or not congruent. Okay. What?
I think I'm starting to get it. It makes the heart shape, right? The two triangles make a rectangle.
You don't know it's a rectangle.
Wait, how do you know?
Just because it looks like one doesn't mean it is. That looks like a right angle, but you don't know it's a right angle. That could be 89.999 degrees, and it's not a right angle, so it's not a rectangle. Haley? Because this side, AC, it doesn't change. It doesn't change length, whether it's on this triangle or this triangle, right? It's shared by both of them, so it can never change length. It's just that length, agreed? So it's AC is always going to be AC. So AC is the same length on this triangle as AC is on this triangle. So if AC was 5, right, on this triangle, it would also be 5 on this triangle. Does it make sense? All right, so that I can put a little double tick mark on there because it's equal to here and here. So really what I have, I got an angle, I got a side, and I have a side. Or I've got a side, and an angle. But again, there is no side-side angle theorem. It doesn't exist because it doesn't work. Okay, just because you have two sides and one angle does not mean that the triangles are congruent. Okay? All right. Let's do this one. It's kind of the same thing. Kind of. So look, this is one arc right here. This is one arc right here. This is 2 here. This is 2 here. Is there anything else just by looking at the picture that we can determine about this figure? Yeah, Makai. They share that same one right there. Again, same thing as we just did. So what am I going to put here? Yeah, you don't have to put 2 because nothing else has any other tick mark. So I'll put 1. If you wanted to put 2, you could. It'd be fine. But I'll put 1. So now let's take a look. I've got one angle of one triangle equaling one angle of another triangle, right? This one arc and this one arc. I've got a side of this triangle equals the side of this triangle. And I've got another angle equal to another angle. So, go ahead, Logan. What are these congruent to each other? Angle, angle, side? It's not angle, angle, side. Why is it angle, side, angle? Because the side is where? It's in between. Or in geometry, we don't say it's in between. We say it starts with an I, but it's not in between. What do we say? It's the included side. You remember that? Go watch the video. It'll say it. I say it on there several times, okay? It's the included side. So this is not angle, angle, side. It's not angle, angle, side. It's angle, side, angle. Okay? So yes, these would be congruent, and your answer is angle, side, angle.
So, when you read it, like, angle, side, angle, you go left to right?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't make any difference, okay? You could read it from like one arc, the side, two arcs, and then you've got one arc, the side, two arcs. So you could read it like that, or you could go 2, 1, 1, or you could go 2, 1, 1. Now let's do this. Let's mark this up. A, B, C, D. What if I asked you, okay, I'm not going to do this with every one of them, but what if I asked you to write a congruence statement? Hope you guys are laughing and happy about this when you're taking the quiz and you have no idea what I'm talking about when I ask for a congruent statement. Because I see it. I see it all the time. I'm sitting here trying to tell you something. In the back of my mind, I'm like, I know I'm putting this on the quiz, and they're not paying a lick of attention. They got their head down, they're talking to each other, and I'm telling them what's on the quiz. All right, so think about that. Wayne, you're not. Your head was back, staring at the ceiling. Don't tell me you were watching. Don't do that. Shh, shh, shh. But you're not paying attention to me. I'm trying to help you. I'm not really yelling at you. I'm trying to help you. Because I see you struggle on the quizzes, and I'm thinking, okay, when I said that thing on the quiz, I think of you with your head back like this, looking straight up at the ceiling. Okay? Do you not understand that? I don't know. All right, enough of that. It's absolutely incredible. I've never, in 20, how long have I been teaching? 35 years I've been teaching, and I don't think I've ever had an experience like this. I really haven't. 35 years. It's not a Friday. Yeah, it's not the history you want to make. I don't even know if I'm going to put this up online, because if a math teacher watched this or a parent watched this, they're like, that guy, he's got no control over that class. So why should I even put this online? I don't even think I will. So here we go. Let's try this again. So if I wanted to call this top triangle, I could call it anything. Well, anything with those three letters, A, B, and C. All right, so I'm going to call it triangle. Let's just call it ABC. Might as well. All right, so I can call one of those triangles. I could start with this one if I wanted to. It doesn't matter. But let's just say I started with this one. All right, I called it ABC. Now, I have to call the other triangle, the letters have to be in the right order. Okay, if they're not in the right order, then you're not going to get it right. Okay, so if you look at this, if I go A, B, C, look what angles I'm going from. I'm going from the two arcs to the no arc to the what? To the one arc. Okay, do you see that? See, A has got the two arcs with it, right? B has no arcs. C's got the one arc. So if I call this A, B, C, what am I going to have to call the other one? I go from 2 to none to 1. So I got to go from C, D, A. And I have to call it that. All right? If you put this CDA in a different order, your problem's going to be wrong. And the problem's going to have two parts to it. You have to get both parts to get the problem right on the quiz. All right? So the first part is actually this. I actually ask you to write the congruent statement for these. And then the second part of it, I say, give me a reason, tell me why that they're congruent to each other. So this would be the second part of it. So this is the first part of your answer. This is the second part of your answer. Okay? Now, on the quiz, they'll all be labeled with letters. Okay? Again, like I've said for like the fourth time today, this worksheet, they're not labeled with the letters, but on the quiz, they will be. All right, let's do this one. Again, this is the third time now we've seen this. You've got 2 arcs, or not arcs, but tick marks. You got 2 marks, you got 3 marks, you got 2 marks, you got 3 marks. Is there anything else? They share this, that's right. So I would put what? If this got 2 and that's got 3, I'd just put 1 there. You don't have to. I mean, it's not wrong if you put 4. That's right. And now look at it. It's side, side, side. All right? And so your reason is side, side, side. Let's put some letters in here one more time. What are your initials? J, A, G. All right. And then let's put another, what's your mom's maiden name? Okay, L. Put an L right there. All right. So here we go. So let's call this triangle. This one on the left right here. You can call it whatever you want as long as you use the letters J, A, G. What letters do you want to use? Let's go J, A, G. Okay. Now, so there's triangles. You got to put triangle. This is the congruent symbol. And then so if I go J, A, G. Now look at this. There's no like angle marks on this. But if there's no angle marks, look to see what side it's opposite. This J right here is opposite what side? The one with 2. The one with 2. So which angle over here is opposite the one with 2? J is as well, isn't it? See, J is opposite 2. This J on this triangle is opposite 2. So I can put the J first. Okay? Now what about the A? The A is opposite the 1 mark. You see it? What's opposite the 1 mark over here? The L. So I put an L. And then what else is left? It's just the G. All right? See, the G is opposite the 3. This G is opposite the 3. And that's how you would write it. Now, do you have to start off writing triangle JAG? No. I could have called this triangle JGA. And that would have been fine. But you'd have to make sure that you put this in the right order. So again, which one goes with the J? J is opposite 2. This is opposite 2, so you put the J first. You put the G. G is opposite 3. What's opposite 3 over here? The G. And then, obviously, which is next? The L. All right? Do you see that? So if you would have started with that, you got to end up with this one right here. Okay, let's do some more. Now this one, it's kind of the same, but not really. They don't share the line though, do they? Look at this triangle. It's connected. It's true. It's connected because John said this. Watch. Does it share this line? Does this triangle right here have this line from here to here in it? No, it doesn't. So it doesn't share a line. So there's no lines that's shared. But there is something else that's true about this. There are some equal angles. That's true. Let me show you this. We didn't talk about this a whole lot, but we have talked about it. If I have 2 lines or 2 line segments that intersect each other, let's stop with all that. If you have 2 lines that intersect each other like this, we've talked about this not a whole lot, but we have talked about it. This angle right here that's opposite this angle right here, they're going to be equal to each other. So let's call that angle 1. Let's call that angle 2. So angle 1 and angle 2 will always be equal to each other. It doesn't matter how I intersect the lines. It could be a really skinny intersection. It could be a fatter intersection. As long as 2 lines intersect, you're always going to have these 2 angles right here. They're going to equal each other. We call those vertical angles. Vertical angles. Okay, so angle 1 and angle 2 will be equal to each other. Yes. Yes. What about 3 and 4? They're opposite each other as well. Does that mean that's equal to 1, though? No. Okay, so what would I do here with the marks? I put a double arc and then a double arc. Everybody see that? Now, do you see why I did this on this number 4 right here? Do you see a situation here where we might use this vertical angles? Do you see vertical angles? Yeah, right in here. Do you see that? These two lines. So what could I do here? Yeah, I could put a 2 arc here because that's already got 1, right? So I'm going to put 2 right there. All right, so that's something, just by looking at the picture, you can say that this angle and this angle are equal to each other. Now, are these triangles congruent to each other?
Yeah, because of angles, side, angle.
That's it, okay? There's an angle, there's an angle, there's a side, there's an angle, there's an angle, okay? Angle, side, angle. That's your reason why those two triangles are congruent. Again, you can put some letters in there. Let's do it again. So I'll put my initials, A, S, H. And I'll put my wife's, Lynn, V, Hamrick. Okay, so go ahead and write it down. Write down the congruent statement. See if you can get it instead of me just doing it for you. Write down what the congruent statement would be for these two. So I'm going to call, and you don't have to call the first one ASH. I just did because that's my initials, okay? Now, if I go A, then S, then H, what am I going to have to do up here? Look what I did. Look at my angles. I went from 1 arc to no arcs to 2 arcs. So 1 to none to 2. So it would be what? 1 to none to 2. So it would be LVH. LVH. So that would be the congruent statement right there. Well, as long as the A and the L match up, the S and the V match up, and the H and the H are in the same spot, then you're good. Everybody hear what I just said? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you write this out, as long as the A and the L are in the same spot, the S and the V, and the H and the H. Let's go through some a little faster now. Let's take a look at this one. I've got an angle and a side and a side. Is there anything else by looking at this picture that I can determine? Is there like a common side, a common angle? Is there anything?
Would a common side be the bottom of the triangle? Not that one though.
This one and this one? This one and this? Well, this is completely separate. Is it shared? Like up here, it was actually shared. That's right. Very good. It's not congruent. So we would say it's not congruent. All right? There's not enough information there. Okay? They didn't give us enough information to say that they're congruent to each other. No. No, we're not doing similar. Similar is something different. And you don't even know that they're similar. If you knew two angles, then you could say they were similar. Like on this one right here. Actually, you can't even say that on that one. Nope. All right, let's take a look at number 6. Let's take a look at this one. Let's do number 6. Try it on your own. You've got the worksheet in front of you. Look at it. You what? Yeah, it's similar to that one.
No.
Who else came in late and didn't get a worksheet? Anybody else didn't get a worksheet? Okay. All right, you figure this one out yet?
I got it.
It's just like one we already did. It's very similar to one we've already done. Please. It doesn't help. This angle and this angle right here are equal to each other. Okay? So, John, tell me.
So they are congruent.
They are congruent.
Angle, side, angle.
It'd be angle, side, angle. Okay, very good. And then you could put some letters in there. I'm not going to do the letters right now. Okay, it's just taking too long. I just want to get through a lot more of these. We only got 5 more minutes, so. But you will have the letters in here on the quiz. Okay? Now, we are going to do a lesson. I think it's the next lesson. Remember I said we were going to do right triangles after we finish that? This is a right triangle. And they have another thing that they'll call it. But for right now, since we haven't talked about the right triangles, we'll just call it angle, side, angle, and that's perfectly fine. Okay? Let's take a look at this one. You don't have to do anything with this. You can just look at it. Well, actually, no, let's think about it. Let's think about it. You've got a side, you've got an angle in the middle, an included angle, and you got a side, don't you? And if you look at this, you would think, listen, you would think this would be side, angle, side, because this is side, angle, side. But what's the difference between this and this? Right, they don't tell you if this 2 marks was right here, then you could go side, angle, side. Okay? But this angle is not in between those 2 sides right there, is it? It is here. That's right. So you would say that it's not congruent. So you would say it's not congruent. Wayne, bring that up here. Leona, you said you were going to take that back and then see. Well,
I took it. Beat her up.
Here, next step is outside in the hallway, okay? And then after that is to see Mr. Sarek. Let's take a look at this one. What do you think about this one? Yeah, that's an easy one, isn't it? They gave you everything. Side, 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 side. Simple. Let's look at this one. Again, this is a repeat, kind of. Looks a little different, but it's basically a repeat. Side, angle, side, because of these 2 angles right here. What do we call these 2 angles? What's the name? It's not interior. What do we call these 2 angles? Vertical angles. These are called vertical angles. All right, so you've got a side, an included angle, and a side. There's this side, included angle, that side, so it's side, angle, side. All right? Yep. Now it's starting to get easy, isn't it? What about this one? It's side, side, side. That's right. Because you put one right there. This actually is shared by both of them, just like those early ones were, right? And so it's side, side, side. What's that? I gave them to you? No. I didn't give it to you. Let's look at the instructions. The instructions are different. So let's take a look at this. Let me zoom out a little bit so we can read it. Okay, let's everybody look. It says, state what additional information. You had to do this on the homework too, that last homework. State what additional information is required in order to know that the triangles are congruent for the reason given. So if I wanted to say that this triangle, these 2 triangles were congruent because of angle, side, angle, what else do I need to mark on here? So there's an angle already given, right? Where would the side be? This one in the middle. Now they put letters on them, so what would that be? UT, all right? So there's an angle, there's a side. What would the other angle have to be in order to make these congruent by angle, side, angle? This one up here? And this one down here? Yeah, DUT and SUT, all right? So watch. So this and this. That's what that right there would need to be given. They didn't give it to you, but you would need to know that in order to say that these triangles were congruent because of angle, side, angle. So it's a little bit of a twist on what we just finished doing. Everybody see that? Again, read the instructions And that's what it asks you to do. It doesn't tell you to, no, it doesn't tell you to write the congruent statement. But if we did, let's just put an if in here, okay? If I asked you to write the triangle congruent statement, what would you call this first triangle? You call it any of those three letters. It doesn't matter. Let's just go U, D, T. Now watch. If I go U, D, T, what are we doing? We're going from 2 to none to 1. So this would go U, S, T. All right, that would be your congruent statement. That's the kind of stuff that I'm going to ask on the quiz. All right, what if we wanted to show that these two triangles were congruent because of side, angle, side? Where I already have an angle, and I got a side too. Where's the side? Give me the letters. Give me letters. WX? XV. XV, this one. This is shared by both triangles, isn't it? So I've got an angle. I've got a side. But according to this, listen. According to this, I want to show that these triangles are congruent because of side, angle, side. So where's the other side going to be? WV and XK. So now they could be congruent because of side, angle, side. Yes, I want the homework, and I want you to finish that worksheet for homework. Okay, that worksheet's going to be due on Monday.